Portugal being a cheap place to live is a myth. First of all, prices have skyrocketed in the last few years. And second of all, cheap is kind of the wrong word to use anyways because it's relative. But rather than talk about what's cheap and what's expensive, in this video I'm going to be breaking down the actual numbers of your largest expense in Portugal, housing. I've been in Portugal since 2019 and I have definitely seen changes in the price of housing over those years, especially in 2022 and 2023. When I first moved to Portugal, like I said, it was 2019 and I moved to Lisbon. I was living in the neighborhood of Praça de Espanha, which is quite central and quite a good location. I moved into an apartment where the rent was already fixed because I moved in with people who were already living there, and we had a 3-bedroom apartment with 1 bathroom to share. And it was a basement apartment, but only kind of in the front. So it was below ground, but in the back side of the apartment, there was a patio. So the backside was quite open. So we did get some light and we did have windows. At that time, it was 650 euros for the total apartment. So we could split that 3 ways. Bills were not included, so we had to pay that separately. Now you may be thinking, wow, what a great price for a great neighborhood, but that was a few years ago. Also, the apartment had a lot of mold, and the water didn't stay hot in the shower for longer than a few minutes, and all the appliances in the apartment were very old. So although it had quite a bit of space, it had a patio, and it was really well located, the inside really needed to be updated. And again, this was almost 5 years ago. In 2020, during the pandemic, I moved to a town called Pinhal Novo, which is a small town in the district of Setúbal. So we're like a good 30 minutes by car outside of Lisbon, and still another 15 minutes to the next big city, so Setúbal. It was an apartment that was located in the center of Pinhal Novo, which had a train station to go to Lisbon or Setúbal or other places. And it was a 2-bedroom apartment with a refurbished attic, and then it had 2 balconies, and the kitchen was massive. It was originally a 3-bedroom apartment converted to a 2-bedroom apartment. It was much, much bigger, and being that far outside of the city in 2020, we were able to rent that apartment for 500 euros. So it can be split into the 2 bedrooms or however you want to split it, but the entire apartment was 500 euros. That also didn't include any bills. So you may be thinking like, wow, that's a lot more space for the money, because even though it wasn't a 3-bedroom apartment, it used to be, and overall the entire size of the apartment was much, much larger. This was a third floor apartment without an elevator, so that was a negative. It did still have some mold, but not nearly as bad as the place before. It did have an air conditioning unit when I moved in. However, that didn't actually work and wasn't fixed until probably the end of the 2nd year that I was living there. And then the landlord increased the rent to 600 euros. That happened in 2022. You know, I had a newer apartment, a bigger apartment, but I was living way outside of the city. That space was a really good space. I just didn't like living in Pinhal Novo that much. So now I'm back in Lisbon. I am in a 2-bedroom unit. There's 1 bathroom. It is much, much smaller than any apartment I've lived in, and it's an attic apartment. But I am in central Lisbon, and the apartment itself is renovated. So it is like decent quality, but it's about half the size of my apartment before, and it's still got 2 people living in it. So yeah, it's a lot tighter. This apartment has air conditioning, and for Americans that means it has cold air and hot air, because here aircon means both. And that's a big plus because the buildings in Portugal get very, very, very cold in the winter, and also the summers can get quite hot. To rent this bedroom, it's 500 euros, and that includes the Wi-Fi, but I still have to pay electricity and water on top of that. So is this a good deal? I think so, because when I looked for an apartment to find anything at this price, it took me months and months of searching. I looked at hundreds of apartments online. I visited probably around 30 places, and I asked everyone I knew, and I finally found a friend through a friend who needed to find a roommate about the same time that I was looking. When I looked at trying to rent a place of my own in Pinhal Novo or Setúbal, I didn't find anything that was even close to 500 euros a month. And some of the bedrooms in Pinhal Novo and Setúbal were like around 500 euros. And I thought, well, if I can get 500 in Lisbon, I'd rather be in Lisbon because I can meet more people, do more things, etc. But basically, rents have gone up a lot over the years. What I'm paying now is much more than I was paying before for a bedroom, because I used to pay like 200, and then I was paying 300 for a bedroom before I moved here, and now I'm paying 500. So is 500 euros a month a good price to be renting inside of Lisbon? Let's do like a little comparison. So I got my computer out. We're gonna go through some options that you could rent in Portugal and specifically Lisbon to see if what I've got right now is a good rate or not. So the most common site is Idealista. So let's go there. Then rent. So we're gonna rent in bedrooms because that's what I found. And then we're gonna look in Lisbon. So we want the county of Lisbon, so inside the city center. Okay, so that gave us 2,000 bedrooms, but we need to filter by price as well. So since my previous apartment had been 300 per person, let's do that. And then let's do the max at 500 since that's what we're paying now. I only share the room with one person, so let's do share with one person. And then like, let's just do things posted in the last week because we want something recent. Okay, 23 rooms to rent. So we're not gonna go through all these, but let's just do by price. So the first one is in Amadora, which is really far, and as you can see, it looks very old, so I don't really find this that interesting. Also, they're looking specifically for Pakistani women, and I'm not Pakistani. Okay, here you have a room in Belém, but they're looking for a student or a teacher, so no. Okay, here you have 2 bedrooms. It's in Ajuda, so that's not as central. You have to use more buses because you don't have metro there. And then you see it is very, very small. Okay, 3rd bedroom without elevator, T2, 1 bathroom. Yeah, it's much cheaper, but it's smaller than my bedroom. It's not updated. It doesn't look like it has a heating unit, and it's much farther out. So no. 2 bedrooms in Ajuda again. And let's see if we have any photos. Okay, older. Okay, the bathroom's nice. Kitchen looks okay. You need furniture, and you also have to pay all your bills, so there's nothing included. Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst option, but I'm only saving 100 euros per month to live in something farther out that's not as nice. Here we have Alcântara. Okay, Alcântara is a really nice neighborhood. It's close to the river, and you have stuff to do. 1 bathroom. It's a basement apartment, but it does have a terrace. That's interesting. Okay, let's look at some pictures. Oh, it's nice. The outside is really small. Calling that a terrace is kind of generous. Yeah, I mean, small bedroom. It's okay, but again, it's 400 euros, so to save 100 euros and I'm in like a smaller bedroom, no heating. It's a random roommate situation. I know my roommate. So yeah, let's just see what else. Like, we have some things that are like closer to 500 that might be closer in quality. Like here we have one in Campo Pequeno. That's a really nice neighborhood. Can be boys or girls. The furniture is not as nice. Honestly, it's okay. The kitchen needs some help and doesn't look like it has heating. Okay, and that's it. Yeah. So although there are definitely some things between 400 and 500 available, doesn't look like any of them have heating. Some of them are not as updated as my apartment, and some of them are farther out. So yeah, I think I have a pretty good deal here, but my apartment's still, it's quite small. So it's all just kind of like what you can deal with. Yeah, this is about the price of a bedroom. If you really want to see something, let's just take a quick look at apartments. If you put in that same budget, and like, we can put even 400 to 500 just because I couldn't imagine that there would be a 300 available. So there are 0. So there you go. Let's see if we can get something up to 700. Okay, we can actually get an apartment for 700. There's only 9 though. In the entire city of Lisbon, there are only 9. So what's the likelihood that any of these are still available? They're available and there's nothing wrong with them, right? This one's actually really cute, but it looks like it's probably on the ground floor in quite a busy neighborhood, so that's not desirable. Like, the neighborhood is really convenient, but yeah, there's not a lot of pictures there. This is okay. But like, for 700, it's 30 meters squared. That's really small. Oh, you have this one in Praça de Espanha for 700. It's a really small 21 meters squared for 700 euros. 21 meters squared. That's crazy. It does include all the bills though. That's quite good. But yeah, so for 200 euros more, I could live in a 21 meter square area. No thanks. What do you think about the cost of living in Lisbon lately? Are you surprised to see these numbers? Were they aligned with what you thought? What do you think is going to happen in the future? Let me know all that in the comments. I also tried to buy a home this year, so if you'd like to know more about the experience, I can definitely let you know. I didn't decide to go through with it, but I did learn a lot just going through the process. If you want to see more videos about the cost of living in Portugal, give this video a like and let me know what you'd specifically like to see. Thanks for watching and see you next time.